Alright, Ricochet, you need to shut the fuck up, mate. Let me turn you on. We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome on in. It's not the usual. I know, everyone. This isn't Mags. What's going on here? This isn't Mags. Mags has changed. No, I'm doing this at a different time. If you don't, usually my WWE. I know, everyone. WWE. We can't talk about them. Oh my god, no. Usually on my WWE shows, I am live and with Mags the kind of a few hours before the show. But I needed to do this now because I have work tonight because boo, who wants to do that? But yes, I have a shoot job that I have to go to, so I won't be able to do this tonight. So I was like, well, it's 1 a.m. over in the UK. I can't really ask on Mags to do that. However, I thought we're doing AEW, so maybe I should change this up. This is my first AEW prediction show. Never done one before, but I'm getting into AEW, everyone. I know it's taken me a little while, but hey, it's hard sometimes to give up what you love. You know what I mean?
It's better late than never. Late than never. You know?
That's true. But so yes, I don't have Mags here, but for AEW shows, we're switching it up a little bit. I got Mr. JPJ here. Welcome to the land of my Twitch. It's a little different feel than Love Wrestling. It's a little more casual, I guess you could say. I guess the vibes will be a little bit more casual and lots of swearing because we love that here.
Yeah, I'm okay. I have no problem with casual. I very much like casual myself, so I'm excited to be here. We've worked on some streams on the other side on Love Wrestling,
Yes.
so I'm excited to be on your side of things for the first and hopefully not last time. You know,
This will be the last time. No, I'm kidding.
okay, fine. I'm glad I know right ahead. I'm glad I know at the beginning.
One and done. No, I'm
now
thinking
I can
about
mail it in.
I'm thinking about keeping my, of course, Mags isn't going away, everybody. For everyone that loves Mags and loves mine and Mags' banter, there's nothing truly like it. But we're going to keep them with WWE shows. Mags will kind of do them with me if I keep continuing to do WWE prediction shows. I'm not really in love with that side of the stuff today, but it is what it is. But AEW changed it up a little bit. We'll get in the big guns for AEW, which is, and you've been kind of, I wouldn't say like preaching to me about AEW, but you've certainly been letting me know in the last few kind of months that, hey, you should probably check out this because it is very good.
Yes, I have. It's been my favorite product for a while now. I still very much, and we'll see how that, ask me a month from now, but I still very much enjoy NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And there are moments on the main roster that I enjoy. I still watch it, but AEW has been my favorite program for a while, for like, I would say going on since somewhere in the pandemic era. It was just like, okay, this show is giving me what I need as a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
And what I need is, it's enjoyable. They don't insult me. They don't make me feel like I'm stupid for watching the product. They reward me a little bit for watching the product. And, is everything they've done perfect? Absolutely not. But they're only 3 years into it, but like, they don't disappoint me.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and again, I don't want to make this, but like, I feel like on the WWE side as fans, especially longtime fans, you kind of have that in the back of your mind. Like, okay, I'm kind of ready to be disappointed.
Like,
the whatever I think is going to happen.
Certainly lower.
Yes.
They have to be. Because not only that, what I do appreciate about AEW, I said this in a tweet the other day, and I think this is what's gearing me towards them so much, is that, listen, it's hello everyone in the chat, by the way. We're not ignoring anybody. We have got you here. You see us on screen. JPQ's here, which is, oh man, me and JPQ go way back. Oh, he's one of my oldest friends in content creation world. He's a good dude. Everyone go and follow JPQ on Twitter. He's a good man. But anyway, what I was going to say is that I tweeted this the other day, and what I like about AEW and what's really reeling me in is that whatever match I'm watching, I feel like there's this sense of unpredictability, and there's this sense of like, it's not phoned in on this person's going to win. You see the design of this match. It seems to be that it does feel like there's this sense of like, oh, like this person could win this match. This person could win this match. Like, I think the best way to describe it is Rampage has done a really good job of this. I'm going to talk about Daniel Garcia, everybody. But Daniel Garcia and Darby Allin, were the main event of Rampage this week, and there was this genuine sense that it's like, okay, Darby's probably going to win this. However, there is this sense of like, it wouldn't be the weirdest thing if he didn't.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like it's like a end all be all. You know what I mean? Like they're there to help all of the talent instead of putting all their eggs in one basket. I think that's what
Correct.
I'm trying to get at. It's interesting.
Yes,
Go on.
They make losing efforts feel like not wins, but they make the losing efforts, they make the people look good. So they they can lose a big match.
Yeah.
Like Daniel Garcia, the times that we've seen him on Dynamite and Rampage, he's lost almost every match.
Yeah.
He went against
But you wouldn't
Moxley,
feel that, would you?
But you don't know. When he's in a match, you go, oh, Daniel Garcia.
Yeah. Well,
Still,
I do too.
Even though, yeah, well, yes, he is handsome. He's a handsome fellow. But you know what I mean? They just,
I do.
They build their they make their whole roster look good, even though the whole roster can't win every match they're in.
Yeah.
And it's just, it feels good. Like you watch the other product and they have their handful of guys and girls, handful of people that they value. And if you're a mid-carder or anywhere lower than that, you don't matter. You might be on the TV show, but you don't matter.
Thank you, Rachel, for the follow. Sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you. Just saying.
No, it's all good. And I think AEW does a far better job at not doing that and making everyone on the roster. If they're on your television screen, they make them matter.
Yeah.
And it's appreciated.
And what I'm learning to do to enjoy both products is going in with that mindset of like, this is what you get here, this is what you get here, and just reacting to what's on my screen instead of worrying about everything else. I don't hate WWE, and some people do. Some people hate AEW. That's fine. Do what you want to do, watch what you want to watch, enjoy what you want to enjoy. I could give two shits. I watch what I do. I enjoy SmackDown. I think SmackDown's a nice program. I think there could be some changes there. I honestly think there could be some changes on Dynamite and Rampage as well. So it's just what I think, but I'm just reacting to what's on my screen, championing for what I want more of, which is we're going to talk about a lot of that in this chat. But let's get to All Out, because Tony Khan is going in. He says this a lot, but I've noticed, but he is going in with the expectation this could be the biggest AEW show that they've done. It's hard to really argue that with the CM Punk coming back, which we're going to talk about later with CM Punk, but it is a pretty good card. Looking at this on paper, it's a pretty damn good card. But before we talk about any of the matches that are actually going to take place, let's talk about one that actually got cancelled this past week with one Andrade and Puck, or Pac. I say Puck, but some people say Pac.
I say Puck.
Okay.
Puck.
Sure.
Yeah.
Either.
Tomato.
Yeah, it's the same thing. But that match was going to take place. I believe it's going to take place on Dynamite next week. I think I seen something about that. Could be wrong, honestly. But it's a blessing in disguise, isn't it? Because we got the Casino Battle Royal coming over to that. Mighty Joe, hello everyone. By the way, again, we're not trying to ignore anyone. We'll try to read the chat as we kind of go through. But the Casino Battle Royal is now going to take place on the main card. There's some 10-man tag taking place on the pre-show. But Andrade and Puck is a match that you just look at and you just go, oh. If you're a wrestling person, you just go, oh my God. And to be honest, again, it's on Rampage. Okay, it's going to take place on Rampage, I believe, maybe. Yeah, on a future episode of Rampage. Listen, it's probably, again, a blessing in disguise for not only the Casino Battle Royal moving to the main card, which, I'm excited about because I want more women on the show. But also, that match now gets its own spotlight and probably can have a whole hour of Rampage, to be completely honest, when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I'm right with you on that. I think that as this match would have been good no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like it might have gotten lost in the shuffle because the card is strong. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, when you walk away from a show, you maybe have the 3 or 4 things you talk about. I feel like a match like that would have been second or third in the card.
Rachel, thank you for the sub.
Yeah, that might have been second or third on the card. Mm-hmm. Like, as good a match as it is going to be and would have been tomorrow, it might have got lost in there. So now that it's going to main event a Rampage, it's going to have that time, that showcase, and it's going to be as good as we all know the match is going to be, but it's going to have its spotlight that it deserves.
100%. And it's just going to be, There's no way
It's
that
gonna be
will.
so good.
There's no way that.
Yeah.
No way that'll be
way.
bad.
No way.
Just no way. With those two in it. How do you feel about Andrade coming into AEW? He was originally paired with Vicky Guerrero. That didn't really just seem to click. I wasn't really watching every single week at that stage, but I certainly knew what was going on, and it just didn't seem to have. I think they tried to recreate what he had with Zelina Vega, and it just didn't kind of work. But Chavo, on the other hand, works really well from what I've seen of it. So that's a good thing. It does show, and that's another thing about AEW that I really like. They understand what's working and what's not, and they're not going to waste their time. They're like, okay, we're not going to force this. This isn't working. Of course, give it some time to breathe, which they gave it a month or so, I think. And then they were like, this isn't working. Vicky's obviously doing stuff with Nyla. So it's not like, it's like, oh, if she's off of TV. No, she's still doing her thing. It didn't work. Chavo works. And that's a good thing. It's a sign that they've got their finger on the pulse of their product. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think Andrade's been fine. I expected him to win. I probably still do. I expect him to win this match with Pac whenever they have it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like with AEW, and I think it's happened with almost everybody, when they bring in a new, I don't think it's going to happen with CM Punk, but we'll talk about it. But I think when they bring in a new name that people know like that, the first few months that they're there, they're not automatically at the top of the card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they kind of like Miro, who we'll talk about later, who's at his peak right now, I think. When he first got there, he was with Kip Sabian and he was the best man. And it was entertaining. It was fine, but it wasn't, it was middle of the show, low card of the show stuff. And then now look where he is. You know what I mean? And I feel like they do that quite often with newer big names that they bring in. So like what Andrade's been doing so far is okay to me, but I feel like 6-8 months from now, it's going to be a different story. He's going to be at the top of the card where he should be. And it's going to be like, okay, yeah, this was a really good, now I know why they brought him here.
Yeah. I agree with you completely. Let's start with Miro and Eddie Kingston. It is for the AEW TNT Championship. Probably, again, this is there's 10 matches on this card, including the pre-show, or the buy-in, whatever you want to call it. Which, by the way, I kind of dig that name with all their like casino-y kind of stuff that they've got going on with their shows. The buy-in is I like that. But if you're a WWE person, it's their kickoff show. It's the same deal. It's the show before the show. By the way, some people go on about the buy-in and some people go on about kickoffs, be like, it shouldn't be on the kickoff. Bitch, who gives a It's the show. It's not, who in their right mind that is watching wrestling as much as we do just doesn't watch the kickoff or doesn't watch the buy-in?
Exactly. Yeah, there's going to be a decent match on it. Like, why aren't you? If you're watching the pay-per-view,
you're watching that.
What's another hour?
Like if I invite people over to watch wrestling with me, like I usually invite my sister and her fiance, they come and watch every pay-per-view with me. And it's like, what time does it start? Starts when the buy-in starts. Starts when the kickoff starts. So I don't invite them over at the start of the main show. It's just, why would you when you're going to get this? But regardless, veering off, Miro and Eddie Kingston. Again, there's a lot of matches on this card. I feel like this has somehow slipped a little bit under the cracks until Rampage when he said, "These nuts." That was funny.
Redeem these nuts.
I was like, that's funny. Miro has gotten into tremendous shape. That's a great point, Rachel. He was getting into kind of a better shape when he was leaving WWE, and then since leaving WWE and coming over to AEW, he's just stepped up. He's just like a physical specimen at the moment, especially where you look at when he was first in NXT and onto the main roster of WWE. It's night and day different, his physique, so good to him for that. But again, this match is slipping a little bit under the cracks a little bit of how good it actually could be. This one's going to be like, to me, out of everything here, this is going to be like a physical match. Eddie Kingston is a brawler, and like he will he's rough and tough. Miro can do that as well. I think Miro gets a little bit underlooked for how good he actually is in the ring. For a big dude, he's agile and he's really good in the ring. Rusev Day, yes, Aaron. It'll be a very interesting kind of matchup, but again, more of the rougher style. I don't think this will be, I think this will probably be in the middle of the card somewhere. To be honest, because just how this show is packaged, I just think that's just where it's going to go. This match, I'm a little afraid, though, out of everything, this match could get a little bit of a victim of there's so much bigger stuff around it that it's going to get a little lost. And that's not a knock on the talent. They're very good talent, and Eddie Kingston is very loved, and Miro gets a lot of love too, but I just think it could get a little bit lost.
I think it could. I think I agree with you there. I myself am very much looking forward to it. This is a top 3 match that I'm looking forward to going into it. I just love both these guys.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. I think this is going to be, it's not going to be a super long match. It's not going to be a high spot match. These guys are going to just beat the shit out of each other.
Yep.
And Eddie Kingston doesn't quit. He doesn't tap out. He doesn't, he's going to keep on coming, and Miro's going to really have to put him down. Type of situation. That's how the character of Eddie Kingston is, Yeah, man. And I agree with you. I thought the first couple weeks when you knew you were going there, they took their time. But this last week, I thought the vignette they did on Dynamite was very good. And then on Rampage with the Redeem These Nuts and the brawl and kind of Kingston ending up being the better man in that brawl, I think, too. It kind of, I have full expectation that Miro is winning this match. I do not think Miro is losing. But it at least made Kingston look credible, like he could get the best of him, But yeah, I do think in the scheme of things, I do feel like there are going to be bigger moments that we talk about coming out of this show. So I do think that it might have a chance of getting lost. And I don't know why, in 2-3 weeks from now, they have a huge event in Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York where Kingston is from.
I mean,
I think
build up to there.
It could. You could. I mean, it could not be just a one. There's ways they could go.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I'm super looking forward to it. But I hope it doesn't get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. No. Agreed. It has potential. Before I get to your prediction, a prediction for something else in this match. Do you think that in the next few weeks, months, even at this event, that Miro may have a little assistance from one CJ Perry, formerly known as Lana? Is that something that will happen? Is it a matter of when, not if? Because I feel like it's just, again, I know people are always like, you shouldn't just recreate what they did in WWE. No, okay, I get you. But also, their chemistry is undeniable. They are husband and wife, and they're just a good pairing. It would be too... Sometimes it's okay just to do what you did before because it is so good. And also, she could add a little bit of star power to their women's division, which I think they lack a little bit of. And she's a great speaker, and she did get a lot better in the ring, in my opinion. I know some people will get on me for that.
No, she put in a lot of work pretty good in there. A lot of work.
So do you think that CJ Perry, formerly known as Lana, could be by Miro's side sometime soon in AEW?
I would like her to be. I hope so. If she's there and she's willing to do it, like you said, like people know who she is. She's a star. She's going to be on The Surreal Life. I think they're bringing back the TV show The Surreal Life, and they said she's going to be on it.
Oh, okay.
So
Rachel said in the chat, last I saw, she wants to go back into movies, but she could end up in AEW all the same. Great. Well, she was an actress first. She was in Pitch Perfect, and she's done a few movies. So, and obviously, she has an acting background. You can kind of tell just the way that she does things. She was always, even in the shitty times that she got sometimes with WWE, that was always her strong point, was her speaking, her acting, all of that. Even before she started wrestling in the ring, that was definitely it would always be her strong point. And she just has a very, I'm not trying to be a creepo, but she just has a look that's like, you're naturally drawn to her because she's a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
So,
of course. Of course.
But I think it is a matter of, it will happen at some stage. Who knows? It might happen at All Out. Maybe, who knows?
Miro references her in all his promos.
I've noticed.
And his promos are amazing.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why they're amazing is what he says about his wife in those promos.
He's gotten a lot better at promos too. It's almost like, is there an argument for he doesn't even really need her? Would she add? And I think she would add stuff, but
I think she would add, but I think he's fine with or without. With his trajectory, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where he's going, like he's gotten better in every facet.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I agree with you. Obviously, she would definitely add something, and it would be familiarity, and like you said, their chemistry together it jumps off the screen.
It's
undeniable.
Like, if she
could be there, like it would be great. It would be a great addition. I hope it happens.
Yeah, me too. I hope it happens as well. I mean, I don't like to just be, again, AEW is a little bit harder to predict than a WWE show. I'm going into this like, oh, I'm not as certain, but I do think that Miro will retain. I think there's a little bit of stock in him being the TNT champion. And Tony Khan come out and said something about the TNT title. He said, it's not a mid-card title. I don't book it that way. It's not a mid-card title. I book it as like, it's on the same level as everything else, which is a good thing.
Yep.
I don't know how much I believe. Like, I believe him in a sense, but I don't know if it's being portrayed as what as much as he thinks as on screen sometimes. And just fan perception, we're so used to that formula. World title, mid-card title, this title. So we get in that kind of mindset of like, if it's not the AEW world title, it must be the mid-card title. So I think it's a little bit of both, like how it is being portrayed on the screen, how it comes across, and us as fans, just what we're conditioned to. However, I do think that Miro represents that championship very well, and I just don't see that. And again, there's a big stadium show coming up in New York in a few weeks, and maybe if they do some kind of screwy finish, maybe a little assistance from CJ Perry, who fucking knows. But to get us to the stadium show in New York with a lot of people be rooting for Mr. Eddie Kingston, because if there's one thing I know about New York, they love New Yorkers.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they do. They love their own.
So I do think that Miro will retain.
I agree. I think Miro will retain. I think it will be his hardest match to date. I think Kingston is going to do that. You know, he's not going to quit. He's not going to submit. So Miro's going to have to figure out, he's going to have to submit him, like, you know, knock him unconscious or do something. But yeah, I see Miro holding on to the TNT title for probably a bit here. I think, like you said, he adds value to the title. And he's someone that you know you have to go through to get it. And it's a daunting task. They're making him seem like it's a daunting task. Yeah. So I agree with Miro.
All right, let's move along here. Let's go with this match will no doubtably probably steal the show. The Young Bucks will be defending the AEW Tag Team Championships against the Lucha Brothers inside a steel cage. Now, it was last year or the year before at All Out that there was some kind of ladder match, I believe.
I believe it was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, so that was the first All Out.
That was the first All Out.
First All Out. Sometimes I get a little lost in the timeline because it's hard to believe that was 2 years ago, to be completely honest, because this year and last year is just kind of merged into one.
Yeah, sadly, yes.
Sadly. But they had a fantastic ladder match a couple of years ago at All Out. Mm-hmm. Now they have the opportunity to have a fantastic steel cage, which, by the way, steel cage matches, for me as a fan, aren't my favorite. I find them limiting and whatever, but if there's two teams that can make this just phenomenal, it's these two. They're two of the best tag teams in the world. I don't really have too much to add because my words will not be able to describe what's coming up. It's just going to be an absolute spectacle. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening. But yeah, how do you feel about steel cage matches? Are you the biggest fan of them?
No, not really.
Me either. I can't really name that many in the history of wrestling that I'm like, I loved that steel cage
I remember
match.
more of the older ones when I first started watching wrestling than I do most of the current ones. But I remember the big moments in steel cage matches. Like I remember Kurt Angle doing the moonsault.
Matt Hardy. Do you remember the Matt Hardy and Edge? I remember that, but I can't tell you anything else that happened in that match. I can't tell you that anything happened.
Exactly.
It's just like whatever. Yeah. They're just whatever.
Yeah. I'm expecting something. And like you said, the four of these guys, if anybody's going to make a cage match where everyone goes, oh, that's the best cage match ever, it's this one, right? Like everyone's going to be like, well, that was insane. You know what happened? I expect Rey Fénix to jump off the top. Yeah. I love Rey Fénix. Rey Fénix is ridiculous. So good. Yeah, I agree with the way you put it, where you were like, I'm not going to say a ton of things. It's just going to be, everyone knows it's going to be arguably the best match of the night. It might steal the show. Everyone knows it's, like you said, it's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be must see. Yeah. I mean, how I feel
no other way to put it, is there?
any match any of these guys are in is always a good one. Yeah. And they're really good when they go against each other.
Yeah.
I expect this to be no different. Absolutely no different.
Are we expecting a Young Bucks title retain? I'm probably more leaning towards that they'll retain. I think so. Oh,
Okay.
you're not?
I'm the opposite way. I think the Lucha Brothers win here.
All right.
I think the Lucha Brothers win here. I think the Bucks have had it for like 300 something days. I think it's due for a little bit of a change. I think they're heading into a direction where the elite is going to kind of crumble a bit over the long haul.
Planting the seeds.
Yes. I think it started with Omega losing the Impact title. I think the Lucha Brothers are a good team to kind of take the titles off of them. I don't know, just something about it. I wouldn't shock me at all if the Young Bucks retain. It would make sense still. But yeah, no, I'm feeling a title change. I think the Lucha Brothers steal. Yeah, I think they get it here. I think they win the titles.
I mean, not opposed to either. I've never been a huge Young Bucks guy. I'm very, they're very good. I just don't love them. But that's probably just because I've watched WWE for so long and I'm just kind of tuned to be like, fuck the Young Bucks. But I've always known how good they are in the ring. But they are very good. And I mean, like you said, anytime that these two teams go at it, I mean, it's hard to look away. Let's just put it like that. It's hard to look away. But yeah, I'm expecting a title retain. Let's talk about this Casino Battle Royal. We got the Women's Casino Battle Royal, the second. Nyla Rose won the first one.
Second one with the females, with the ladies.
So this is interesting. So as of yesterday, there was 21 women announced for this battle royal, which would leave no surprises. However, AEW Dark spoilers, everybody. Just putting it out there. Julia Hart seemed to be taken out by Nyla Rose and Jade Cargill. Her knee was attacked with a chair. Vicky Guerrero even got in on the attack. If you haven't seen the clip, it's quite funny. But it seems to be maybe that they're setting up for the fact that maybe Julia cannot compete in this women's battle royale. So that would leave one surprise joker. So have you got a list of the women in front of you that are in this match?
I do. Yes.
If you want to read through the list of the women, excluding Julia Hart, I guess.
Okay. So we have Nyla Rose, Thunder Rosa, The Bunny, Big Swole, Ty Conti, Diamante, Penelope Ford, Red Velvet, Hikaru Shida, Emi Sakura, Jade Cargill, Kiera Hogan, Abaddon, Layla Hirsch, Kylan King, Rebel, Jamie Hayter, Anna Jay, Riho, Sky Blue.
Alrighty. So that would be 20 women, which would leave one vacant slot, I guess you could say. Let's just talk about this vacant slot because I think we all want it to be Ruby Soho. I think we're all expecting it to be Ruby Soho. Let's talk about Ruby for a minute. So she was released from WWE back in May?
She was in that bunch,
She was in like the Braun Strowman bunch, which is...
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about releases because we'll be here all day. But Ruby is a absolutely phenomenal talent that led a really underrated stable, by the way, in the Riot Squad in WWE, who could have been so much damn more than what they were presented as. There's one left standing in WWE. That's one Liv Morgan, who we are all Liv fans on this stream. There's no Liv slander here. Who I think can do big things if given the keys to the castle. Ruby, to me, in that stable, was the wrestler. She was the best wrestler of the bunch, and it's no disrespect to either other. But she was just, man, to me, she just oozed something so different than a lot of women have. She has this natural charisma, this natural ability to speak, this natural ability in the ring. And then she got released, and what I appreciate most about her is that she's probably done this vignette building hype thing the best. She's not just like, I've been in a prison. I hate WWE. She's just like, she is playing on the fact that she is no longer there without shitting on it. Because there's nothing worse to me. I know people have experiences and that's fine. But when you just come across as bitter and awful and it just puts me off of you, I'm just like, ugh, just do something different. Everybody does that. But Ruby has played on it in a way, and like those vignettes, man, they just leave you.
Fantastic.
They leave you wanting more, but they also like leave you with a lot of questions unanswered, but answering a lot of. It's really weird to describe, but they've just been really good. They've been really like they're not. She's gone for quality over quantity. She doesn't really say too much else on socials. It's just those videos, and she doesn't really post a lot, which is good. It's leaving you kind of absence makes the heart grow fonder. And then we had this last, I believe, about a week ago, that vignette, and it had Destination, and you had a blank slate with 6 slots. That would kind of leave you with All Out, maybe. It would kind of leave you with maybe Chicago. It leaves you going, is she going to be there? Rachel did put a little cough in the chat. AJ Lee, the place would melt down. Yes, it would. I think Punk said something about her neck. She has neck issues. But I mean, listen, Punk also said he would never come back to wrestling, and he's now coming back to wrestling.
Correct, yes.
You never say never in wrestling. It would melt down if it was AJ, and I was a fucking mark for AJ. Holy moly, in a time where women just weren't getting a lot of time, which I've talked about. I've had a legacy of AJ Lee. My God, that place would go crazy.
At one point, the whole show revolved around her. And that was at a point where women were not getting the time that they are now, like not even close. And the whole show revolved around
Literally,
her.
She was feuding with a whole cast of a reality show and beat them all.
Basically.
Like, literally. So that's where she was, but the place would melt down. But Ruby, this is where people probably will get a little shitty with me, how I talk about the AEW women's division. Listen, this all comes from a place of love. I love women in wrestling. It's the only reason I watch wrestling. Listen, you just listed a lot of names. What I feel with the ladies is that that's what they are in AEW. There's a lot of names, and there's not a lot of character development. There's just not a lot of time for the women. There's nothing worse to me than when I'm really enjoying Dynamite and I'm hyped for the women, and then it just feels like the women's match. It just feels like the women's segment of the show.
9:30 p.m. for me every week. 9:30.
It's just that's where they are, and they have a match that doesn't really mean that much. And to be honest, the matches I have seen on Dynamite have not been the greatest. I'm not saying that they suck. Please don't come across that way, everybody. I mean it in a sense of like, because there's not a lot of time for the women. I know there is on Dark, and I know there is on Elevate. I don't watch those shows. I watch Dynamite and I watch Rampage. They're your 2 shows that you're presenting the most amount of love with. I don't have time to watch 16 matches in 2 hours on Dark. I just don't. I don't want to watch it. It's not interesting to me. And I know they get more opportunity on Dark, which is good. But on your main show, which is where most people are watching, which is Dynamite, I just feel like it seems to be on Dynamite that there's a talking Britt Baker segment, which is fantastic. This excludes Britt, by the way, because Britt is she's on a different level. Yeah. But it's like Britt. The problem is they have Britt, and then there's like the rest of the women. And that's a problem because Chris Statlander, okay, she's getting a little oomph. She, to me, needs a lot more time in the ring. She's a good character. She's getting over, but I just feel like she's still on the up in the ring. Then you got Nyla Rose, who I personally don't love. I don't love her character. I don't love Nyla. I'm just not her biggest fan. I'm not saying that none of these women, by the way, is a talent issue. There's a lot of talented women in this division. Again, it just comes down to opportunity. It comes down to time. And the opportunities that they have got, they've usually crushed it. You go back to St. Patrick's Day Slam with the main event. I mean, that speaks for itself. And it's not like I'm saying all of these women's matches are terrible. They're not at all. But there's no consistency and there's no follow-up. It's not what you do then, it's how you follow it up. And with the exception of Britt, I can't really name too many stars in that division. There's not a lot of people that just burst out off the screen. And I think we've had a lot of fantastic male signings. Look at all the names. I mean, the list goes on and on. Can't really say the same for the women. And a lot of that has been WWE's had a chokehold on the women of wrestling. They've had everybody. But now there's a lot of women that are kind of out in the open. And as they kind of take less of a threshold of the entire business, people are now becoming available. You have women like Ruby, who I think would do wonders for the division and could go straight into a program with Britt Baker and it would be like, oh, here we go. You have people like Cassie and Jess, the former Iconics, now the Inspiration. They could add a lot of character to the women's division. Do you think, Rachel says, do you think if and when AEW go to a 3-hour show that it itself would help the women's division? I wouldn't want a 3-hour AEW show, to be
I
completely
wouldn't want
honest.
a 3. Yeah, I mean,
But I do think that if they were to go to 3 hours, at least they could dedicate a couple of. You're getting one match. You don't usually get more than one match. I haven't seen a Dynamite with more than one women's match. Excuse me. And then just like a backstage segment here or there.
yeah,
Doesn't really do it for me. And I'm not saying that WWE already, but I will say one thing. AEW do 95% of things better than WWE. That 5% is probably their women. Is that women can main event a WWE show and it doesn't seem forced. It just seems, okay, Charlotte's in the main event. Sasha Banks is in the main event. It just seems normal. They can main event a pay-per-view and be like, yeah, all right, that seems pretty normal. AEW feels a little bit like if you were to put Britt Baker and Chris Statlander on in the main event of this show, you'd be like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, you're just doing this to do this. And that's not a knock. You just got a lot of other things. But people like Ruby, people like The Inspiration, people like Lana, CJ Perry, there's a Mercedes Martinez. Oh, would she do wonders for this division? Experience is something they need in this division as well. You look at all those names. Sheeta has a lot of experience. A lot of these names, Riho has a lot of experience. Rebel, I guess, has a little Big Swole,
Big Swole's been around for a bit.
But like Thunder Rosa, I guess, would be another exception to this rule. But even Britt's only been in the business for 4 or 5 years. Jade Cargill been in the business for a cup of coffee, who's very good, by the way.
Oh yeah, very good.
She's gonna be phenomenal. But again, she's not ready yet. She needs time, and she needs to work with people that are a lot more experienced than her to help her. Mercedes, Ruby, The Inspiration, they've got a lot of experience. I wish they would. This whole Forbidden Door thing is great, but it doesn't really seem to have a lot to do with women. Empower was the exception. They had a lot of women come over. But imagine what it would be like to work with Mickie James in AEW. That would be just phenomenal for all of those women to be able to work with someone like Mickie, or Tennille Dashwood, or a Deonna Purrazzo, a Chelsea Green. These people have experience in the ring, and I just don't feel they're doing the women's division a huge disservice for not having more of an emphasis on having. They've got a lot of fresh talent that are great, but need the experience to back them up a little bit at this point, just for a little while until they can kind of find their feet. You can't teach experience. It's not a thing that you can teach. And the only people that can help with experience is people that have experience. And there is women available to them. And I'm not saying it has to be Mickie James. It has to be these people. Mickey's obviously very busy. But it's not like they're not working together. You know, I'm sure if Tony Khan and why have I forgotten the name of the man that runs NWA?
Billy Corgan.
Billy Corgan had a conversation. I'm pretty sure they could work something out.
Yeah, 100%.
Am I wrong for the way I? It's not. I'm not trying to criticize.
No, I think veteran presence would do wonders. I agree with you there. I do think they do have Serena Deeb. She's injured, sadly.
Yeah.
But they do have Serena Deeb, who not only before she got injured as the NWA champ, she was on maybe the run of her career.
Yeah.
From a wrestling perspective, she was amazing.
Yeah.
And she was being used on AEW, and she was having killer matches. I do think not only is she a top of the division star when she comes back, but she's also a vet. She was a trainer forever.
Yeah.
She is a trainer.
Yeah.
Like, I think that helps. I think, like you said, you bring in Mercedes Martinez, that's 19, 20 years of experience that you can make her be an important figure in your division. And on those off shows or off days or whatever, she's training a Julia Hart who's 19 on like, hey, come in the ring with me.
Julia Hart, 19.
Let's go mess. She's 19.
Holy crap.
19 years old.
I knew she was young, but see, that's what I mean. They have so much potential with this division because there's there's a lot of 19, 20-year-olds running around in AEW, man or woman. There's so much freshness and there's so much young talent that have 20 years left in their careers instead of 5.
Yep.
So there does need to be a balance of, especially, I'll just talk of the women's division because that's what we're talking about, but there does need to be a balance within this division. But again, I'm not criticizing to criticize. I love them. You know how much I love them. I don't think I need to preach how much I love women in wrestling. I love them and I want them to be the stars that I know they can be. It does take time, but I think there has to come a point where we as fans go, you've had some time. And it's going to get the point past the excuse of like, we're a brand new company. You've been around for a hot minute now. There's 100 episodes of Dynamite. That's 100 episodes of Dynamite that you could have done a little bit better for the women from the get-go.
I agree.
So I want more. I think the casino, listen, battle royals are battle royals. They're not going to be matches of the night. That's not what they're designed to be.
Oh, I think
But it's still going to be fun.
It's going to be good. Oh, yeah. I do think it's going to be Ruby, who is the Joker.
Me too.
I do. However, I'll wait until we talk about our predictions. But I have a couple ways I think this can go.
You
want me to go?
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
I think Ruby is the Joker, but I don't think Ruby wins. I think Ruby can win, but I think they do something where like Ruby's first feud happens because she gets eliminated kind of maybe dastardly or kind of cheap-handedly, and that's her first feud.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think Britt Baker, Britt Baker being the heel, you need to have like a baby face that the crowd's going to get behind. Ruby 100% is that person. The crowd's going to go bananas for her.
Yeah.
So it absolutely could be Ruby, and I'm not against that at all. But I think for some reason when I've been looking at the 20, the people that stick out to me are Anna Jay and Ty Conti. Those are the two names that stick out to me. I think my problem is, and again, we're going to talk about the Britt Baker match later, but my problem is if Ruby Soho is the Joker and wins, I think she's losing to Britt Baker. I don't think you know what I mean? I think.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get it.
And I don't think that would, ruin her or anything like that. It's a championship match right away. Like, I get it. But I don't know if I want her losing that big a match right away kind of thing.
No, I understand that.
So I'm kind of thinking of like, all right, well, who's like an up-and-comer baby face that the crowd already likes and gets behind that would get behind them for a match against Britt Baker that they're most likely going to probably lose. And Anna Jay got a big pop coming back on Dynamite.
She did, yeah.
Her trajectory was going very high when she got hurt. They were putting her in a position to be a next challenger of sorts when she got hurt. I think that would be a good little victory for Anna Jay, and then she gets the match with Britt, kind of showcase her even in a loss, and now you have your next kind of babyface star in the division. Kind of you're building one, No,
I understand. I understand that logic. I really do. Here's my, I guess, point. Everything I just said about the women's division, they need to do something drastic. They need to do stuff now. And I think Ruby, we're in agreement, Ruby will be the Joker. It could be somebody else. Like I said, there is a lot of talent floating around that easily could be snatched up. And you have the door. So it's not like it could be Diana Perrazzo or a Mickie James. It could be someone like that. But I think it'll be Ruby, and I do think that Ruby will win. I don't think Ruby will win the title necessarily, but you can build this for a little while. It's not like it has to be on the next episode of Dynamite. I would assume it'll be in that stadium show. I think they're going to build that show up. So I'd assume it'll be there, which is fine. But I do think it'll be Ruby, and I think Ruby will win. I think the crowd will go bonkers. And we'll talk about Britt a little later in the show, but I feel like it'll be a lot of disappointment if it isn't Ruby.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. I think I'm just trying to think of like what isn't the obvious. You know what I mean? Like the obvious, but sometimes the obvious thing isn't the wrong thing either.
It's the right thing,
you know? Yeah, it is. But I am in full agreement that it's gonna be her. Like you said at the top, the vignettes have been excellent. Everybody wants it to be her, and AEW has been really on the nose when it comes to these things, and like with their surprises and debuts and comebacks and things like that. They're really on the nose of what their fans want. And I think they get the sense that the fans are like, yeah, we would like it very much to be Ruby. But it would make perfect sense for her to debut and win.
She doesn't have to win, but I do think we're in agreement at least that it should be her. Again, Battle Royals, they're not designed to steal the show, but they're designed to be really fun, fast-paced. That's what this will be. And I have no issue with that. The opposite of things, something that won't be very fast-paced at all, is Paul White is returning to the ring. Who's his first challenger? Who's his first opponent? QT Marshall.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
listen, this match, there has to be a match that's designed on this show to go, I need to go do a pee. I need to go make a snack. I need to go chill out. I'm going to check Twitter.
This is the come down match after one match where we're
going
our
like,
seats.
Bleh!
This is like, okay, now everyone can relax for 4 minutes while Big Show gets a couple pops and punches him in the face and gives him a choke slam, and we all get out of here.
And everyone seems to hate QT Marshall. He looks like a dad. He looks like he wears bowling shirts. He's just living his life, I guess. Hangs around with a couple of his friends. I mean, whatever. Yeah. It's a match that's happening, and it's fine. Yeah. I don't really have anything. I don't really have anything to say on it.
I expect this match to either be right after the cage match, or like after one of those matches where we're just unglued and we're like, okay, we need to catch our breath, and this is the match. Everyone says hi to the Big Show, and it's over. Hopefully, real quickly.
Yep. Big Show or Paul White to win, I guess.
Yes, I agree. Paul White. Terrific.
Great.
Ooh.
Let's move on. Now, I'm going to let you say this one because I will butcher his name. Because John Moxley is fighting someone, and I'm going to butcher his name because I'm terrible with names.
It is Satoshi Kojima.
There we go. This is, okay, so I need you to get in my mindset for this one. I don't watch New Japan. Haven't watched a lot of Japanese wrestling in my life outside of Wrestle Kingdoms and the matches that everyone's like, you're a wrestling fan, you have to watch this match. That's fine.
Correct.
Not a knock on Japanese wrestling, just not my thing. It's not what I like in wrestling. It's a lot more like in-ring action based. And that's not what I look for in wrestling. I'm a lot more of the entertainment side of wrestling. Like my favorite thing in wrestling is a wedding. So that's where my mindset is.
Well, we got one coming up for you.
I'm very excited. September 14th on that new NXT. By the way, very colorful NXT. Before we'll talk about this for a second. A lot of people are very concerned, myself included, of what NXT is. We got a lot of rumors. However, there was like a promo that aired on SmackDown, and it seemed to have like the concept and a drawing kind of what the new NXT arena will look like. Looks damn cool. Not gonna lie. I don't mind color. I don't mind. Listen, it's an aesthetic change. Could give two shits, to be honest. People are like, oh, this logo. I can give a shit. It's what actually happens in the ring and what actually happens in the 2 hours that it's on every single week. That's what I care about. And there's a lot of reports of like I think Vince has been hands-on for a lot longer than you even realize. I think as soon as it moved to network television or cable television, I don't think Vince is going to let something of his product not be produced in some way by him. I don't think it's going to change as dramatically as everyone thinks. I think it'll be more of a long-term thing. It's like, I see what you're doing. There'll be a lot more of the Ridge Hollands in the main event scene than, say, a Johnny Gargano. But I don't think a lot of those people are necessarily going away. There's reports and rumors going around of some more releases happening, which is, listen, at this point, it is what it is. And at least it's not like WWE is the only thing in the way, in the way of like wrestling. There's a lot more. So would you really be that mad if Tommaso Ciampa got released? Think about it. I don't think you would, to be completely honest, because he would go in other places and thrive. But it does take away a lot of the appeal of NXT, like Rachel was saying in the chat. It takes away more of that kind of professional wrestling kind of feel and that dark, grimy... I don't know how to explain it other than that was the NXT look. The black and gold is gone.
Black and gold, yeah, it's gone.
It's gone. It's colorful. It's bright. It's very... The only thing that I'm a little bit concerned at is that Hey, thank you so much for the follow. It is... The problem I have is that I hate thinking like this, but I'm really scared that it's going to become Raw and SmackDown light.
Yes. I am scared of that as well. I think you can even look at some of the booking over the past year or so and kind of be like, oh, that's something that I would see on the main roster.
Yeah.
And that hasn't... NXT was always the place where we didn't have to worry about it.
It was the wrestling show.
It was. And then... So that I've been worried about it for a little bit. The shows have still been really good and entertaining.
Oh, yeah.
I thought this takeover they just did was one of the better takeovers they've done in a while.
That Walter...
It's still... Oh my God. match of perfect match. That was a perfect
Like,
match for me.
it was better than
Perfect.
their first match, and their first match was
their
fucking
first one
insane.
was damn. Yeah. If you haven't seen that match, go out of your way.
Yeah,
You
whether
should
you're
watch
an
both of them if you
NXT,
haven't
yeah,
seen both of
if
them.
you're not a WWE person or an
holy
NXT
moly.
person, it doesn't matter. It's a wrestling. It exceeds what your brand loyalty is. It's just so. It's just
unbelievable.
It's if you were writing a formula for a match, it would look like that, wouldn't it? It would look like this is like textbook.
It was incrable.
What a
it was
finish, by the
incredible.
way. Just like a perfect, like the way that 800 and whatever day reign of Walter ending in a tap out. You wouldn't.
In a tap out. You would never. Most people don't expect Walter to lose ever, let alone tap out.
And
it was
pretty fast. It was like locked in. And it was like,
once he locked it in, it was immediate. Oh, no. He's going to knock me out. It was.
This is a really good point. Rachel brings up a really, sorry to cut you off, but Rachel brings up a really good point, and I want to talk about it while it's on the screen. But so devil's advocate, if it's more like the main roster as a feeder show, then maybe the chance of talent being messed around with once they moved up is less. Thinking like a Keith Lee situation being avoided again. Really good point, because if Vince sees, or whoever, the producers see stuff in NXT and they go, that's what we want here. So instead of being like a place where people can just kind of be their pro wrestler, be themselves. That's not what WWE looks for. If you're watching WWE for pure pro wrestling, I don't think you should really be watching WWE. Take it for what it is. Me and you're really good at this as well. You watch WWE and you know what you're expecting. So you're not getting so up in arms about it because you're like, well, that's not what I'm watching. This show is not a pure wrestling show. It's an entertainment show. It's a television show. That's what you got to watch it as. But if they're seeing these talents, what they want on Raw, what they want on SmackDown in NXT, it is a really good point to say like, well, they don't need to be changed because we know what they're kind of doing. We want them to be the same here as they are here. So that is a really good point. So there's no, I guess, if you look at it this way, there's no disappointment for when they go up to Raw or SmackDown because they're not going to change.
Yeah, but I think...
Or is it still going to be they're on a smaller scale, so we don't need to do as much?
I think that's part of it, for sure. But my thing is, like, did any of... So the previous people that we've been disappointed about when they've gotten up to the main rosters, did their characters change, or were they just handed shitty booking? You know what I mean? I feel like a ton of... Like, I would say the Aleister Black character did not change.
Well, it did change. I think it got better, to be honest. I think it got more in depth.
Yeah, I think towards the end, I agree. I think towards the end it was building, like, and then he got. But when he first got up there, he was still very much Aleister Black. He was just handed garbage.
True. I think there's definitely
2 months.
There's definitely an argument for that as well. Like, it's not sometimes their character changing. But then you look at someone like a Mia Yim, who come up in Retribution and had a mask and was named Reckoning. And even T-Bar and May, I know they're doing stuff now.
Or Dijakovic,
They're obviously doing stuff on Raw now, but they're still called T-Bar and Mace. But so I guess the point I'm trying to make is that if Dijakovic was T-Bar in NXT and then moved over to Raw and still being T-Bar, would we have less
to the... Definitely would be. I mean, for the people that watch it, there would be more of a connection to that character, because I think part of the problem is Vince thinks that not everybody does watch NXT, but Vince thinks that far less people than probably do watch NXT. So when they get the people on the, I'm not gonna say guys, it's guys and girls. When they get the people on the main roster,
we mean guys
as
like,
in, okay, I need
genderless. It's just guys.
Yeah. When he gets them in the main roster, he's like, all right, I have to introduce them to a new, so we got to do this and do that and do this. And it's like, okay, well, now they're just this person, like it's not.
It is mainly a change in entrances and attire, but that's enough to drive a bit mad on Twitter and music. That's what Rachel was saying. And that's a good point. Like sometimes it's the subtle changes, but when we say guys, sometimes it does just mean men, because there's a higher succession rate for women from NXT to WWE main roster that have not changed and also that succeed, because the ratio is less, I guess, but also like I can name like a handful of women that have gone up and been like, this just isn't working, as opposed to the women that have come up from NXT and have not changed. Asuka, Charlotte, Sasha, Becky. You could just keep naming people that are just the same and they work. But then I don't know, maybe there's more of a, I don't know, but regardless, weddings is happening. This is where we got somehow we got here. Wedding is happening on September 14th. We're all here for Index, and it's my favorite thing in the world is a wrestling wedding. I'll be like this, just at the TV, just like watching that with a snack. So, but to go back to AEW, we have got Jon Moxley fighting this fellow from. Is he like a legend? He
is. I believe he was the first ever IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, I should know who this lad is. So that's my bad, I guess.
Well, I very much like how you just said that you pay attention to New Japan. That is very much how I pay attention to New Japan as well.
Okay, great.
I watch Wrestle Kingdom because I know it's their big one.
Right.
And I've seen the matches that I've supposed to see, that type of thing. But when I saw the vignettes on Dynamite and I saw who this Kojima was, I instantly knew who he was. I was like, okay, I've seen matches with that guy. I know who he is. I can't tell you I know much about him, but I know he's, a legend, an old school, strong style Japanese New Japan wrestler. Great. And I expect it to be, I expect the match to be hard hitting. I expect to see a lot of strong style with, the strikes and just these two kind of beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I expect. I wish I knew more about Kojima in general. But I very much enjoy my New Japan like you do, kind of in spurts, very few and far between.
Yeah. That's how I probably watch it once a year.
To watch. I know there's a lot. Yeah. Wrestle Kingdom's probably the only time I devote
my actual.
That's
going to be 3 nights next year, I seen.
Okay. So it's 3 nights, and the third night is like 4 days after the previous 2.
Oh.
So it's the 4th, the 5th, and the 8th. I don't know how on earth that makes sense.
Okay.
It's the 4th and 5th from the Tokyo Dome, back-to-back nights like they've been doing for a bit now. And then it's the 8th from a completely different city, completely different venue.
Oh.
And I don't know why. Maybe for protection with I don't know. I don't know why.
That's interesting.
It's very odd to me. I don't like that idea. It sounds odd.
I don't know. See, New Japan is friendly to my time zone because Tokyo is like half an hour ahead of us in time. So I can watch. It's so weird to be able to watch wrestling. Listen, guys, I'm in Australia land. Wrestling is live in the morning for me. So people are like, what a concept. I eat breakfast and watch wrestling. That's just what I'm used to. But New Japan airs at like 7 p.m. here. So like it should be like something I'm like, I could turn that on when it's nighttime, but I just don't watch it. But it's 3 nights over that. Okay, that's very interesting.
It's a lot.
It's a bold move. Bold move, but good for them, I guess. But I'm assuming Jon Moxley will just win this match. That would be what's it's designed for, I guess.
Yeah, I think at first when they were starting this storyline, they had, and this is not a knock on Kojima at all, and I expect the match to be good. I think they were aiming higher. I think they were expecting Tanahashi.
Yeah, that's who I heard. I know who Tanahashi is, and I was like, I feel like I seen that pop up on Dynamite at one stage. He was on Dynamite.
Yes, Moxley was calling him out in the promos by name. He was saying, I'm opening a contract at the Forbidden Door, whoever, and Tanahashi was in the States, and then so it looked like it was going to work out, that it was going to be Tanahashi, which would be a much more of a gigantic deal if it was going to be Tanahashi.
Yeah.
But someone got hurt. He had to go back to Japan to fill in. And
right on.
That's kind of Will Ospreay got hurt, who was the champion over there, and they were like, who else we got? Yeah, obviously Tanahashi, get back over here. And then that kind of is what led to this.
Gotcha.
So,
but yeah, Moxley will be on there. It'll be
I agree.
Whatever. All right. So now we're getting into the nitty gritty of this card. Let's talk about Chris Jericho versus MJF. The final fight. If Chris Jericho loses, he'll never wrestle in AEW again. He'll go to commentary full time and yell and scream on the commentary table as he does.
That's what he does.
It's what he does. So this is going to be, this is AEW's, they're very good at this. They're playing into the fact that we know that Jericho is older. We know Jericho's time in the ring it's not like he's going to be wrestling for 15 more years. We know that any time it would make sense to hang it up. What a career. Chris Jericho, one of the greatest of all time. I mean, it speaks for itself. But But it is interesting at this moment in this time where there's a lot of rumors that Fozzie's going back on the road. Well, I think they are going back on the road. I don't think it's a rumor. They have dates like set to go back on the road. We've got the Jericho Cruise coming up. It would make sense for Jericho to maybe take a little bit of a back seat in wrestling for a little while. We know with Chris Jericho, never is. You know what I'm fucking trying to say. It's never with Chris Jericho. I guess you could just say it's never over with Jericho. But AEW also are very good at sticking to their word. They're very good at being like, hey, when we say this isn't happening again, we really do mean it. They have a good track record with that. You never know with wrestling. Wrestling is wrestling. But it would make sense for Jericho to lose to somebody who, in a weird way, is Chris Jericho from 20 years ago. Jericho was the loudmouthed, brash asshole that, I mean, MJF does it to a different level and sometimes he takes it a little overboard. But everyone hates him. Everyone hated Chris Jericho. Well, they loved him, but a lot of people do like MJF, but he's fun to hate. Jericho was that in WCW. So it would make sense and it would be very good. Like, what a nod for, MJF would never shut the fuck up about it, which is perfect for a heel. That man is a heel for the rest of his life. He will never be a babyface. So, to have that, have that draped over his shoulder being like, I ended Chris Jericho. So it's going to be interesting. I don't expect this match to be like, 5-star classic because it's Jericho in his later years and that's fine. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying I don't expect. We've seen them wrestle before and it's been fun, but with everything else on the card. But it's a very big toss up here. You could easily just have Jericho win and you just move along. It would do a lot more for MJF, but it also, is Jericho really done? Jericho's always said, I've noticed Jericho changes a lot, but I've noticed this. Jericho's always said he never wanted a retirement match. He never wanted anything. He simply has stated many times, I just want one day to wrestle and the next day I'm just gone and I just ride off into the sunset. And that's my end. Which is, not everyone needs that big send-off, do they? And that wouldn't be the Chris Jericho way, would it? Jericho's had a career where it's kind of like he is, I don't know how to describe this. Jericho is a person that's like, he's kind of never, AEW's a little different with him, but he's never been described as like the biggest of deals. It's just Jericho comes and goes. He can be positioned in any spot that you need him in, at least in a WWE way. And then here he's been a little bit more utilized, I guess, to his abilities. Jericho was the man that brought a lot of people over to AEW, I think. In the sense
he was
of,
the
like,
first
fans.
champion, and I think he had to be.
He did.
He had to be because he was the name.
Yeah. I didn't know a lot of these people because I don't watch a lot of other stuff outside of WWE. I knew of them. Obviously, I know who Kenny Omega is, and I know who the Young Bucks are. But I didn't know a lot of these names, so I was like, why would I want to watch this? And then you see Jericho, and you're like, well,
I know
Jericho. And Jericho, for a long time, was my favorite wrestler. Growing up, Jericho was my guy. It was him and Rob Van Dam as a kid. I just loved those two.
Rob Van Dam was awesome.
Oh, in the Ruthless Aggression era, nothing better. And Christian. To regard my, like, all of that, what a win this would be for MJF to end the career of Chris Jericho. I'm just going to say my prediction now because I think we can just, move into this, but I don't think MJF is going to win. I think Jericho's going to get the win. Rachel made a great point in the chat. Maybe Jericho wins and then MJF destroys him after, injures him, and he goes away for a little while and then still claims to be the man that got him out of here. See you later, bye. You know what I mean? So, like, it still has the same effect, and then Jericho can come back after Fozzy, after the Cruise, all of that kind of stuff. But I just don't think, if Jericho's going out, I don't think this is the way for Jericho to go out. For how I think he thinks. Again, I don't know the dude, but I just don't think it's yet.
Yeah. I understand that mindset. I do think that there are ways to get around it later if they wanted to. You know what I mean? You don't want them to do that all the time.
It's wrestling, but whatever.
But it's wrestling. Weird stuff can happen. You can get somebody to crack and accept a match by torturing them for a few weeks or doing whatever, getting under their nerves and stuff like. It is possible. I think because of the reasons you said with MJF is that character. You add that into his tool belt, his arsenal. Yeah, I went 4-0 against Chris Jericho. I retired Chris Jericho. He's saying that for the rest of his career. That is part of his shtick moving forward. Is I ended Chris Jericho. And I think his character is the perfect person that's going to remind us of that every fucking time we see him.
True.
And I just think, can I tell you an MJF story?
Go for it.
I went to All In. So
Imagine if I just said no. Imagine I was like, no.
Yeah, no,
you can't.
Right, cool. I just kept going. I'm adaptable. I can work at all angles. No, but I went to All In, and then after All In, there was an after party.
Yeah.
And so we went to the after party, and the wrestlers were in a VIP section, which we bought the advanced. We're nerds, so we bought the advanced tickets to get into the VIP section. There's bars, music, live music, whatever. It's towards the end. And I was with two of my friends. One of them was this guy, Doug. He actually won Quizplex on Love Wrestling this past Thursday. We're there, and MJF is on the other side of the thing getting a beer. Or he's getting a drink. He starts walking directly towards us, right? And he's walking directly towards us, and my friend Doug makes eye contact with MJF. And MJF, from about 20 feet away, has a huge smile on his face and puts his hand up for a high five, right? So then as he gets closer, my friend Doug puts his hand up for a high five, and MJF knocked Doug's hat off and just kept walking.
Oh my God. That's the most MJF thing that you can hear though, isn't it?
Yeah. And me and my other friend were just laughed at Doug. It was, it wasn't mean. Like, he didn't do it aggressively. It was just like what an
you're
asshole.
A cockhead. Like, you're just a fucking tosser. He is really good at
oh my God,
making,
it was tremendous.
Like, he has this great sense of like, he's really good at his character or he is just an asshole. And I'm not sure. Yeah. And nobody, you can't tell whether it's like, he's just really, really good or he's just a dick who you don't want to be around.
Like you'll see someone on social media draw this like really fantastic painting or drawing of MJF, and he'll retweet it and he'll be like, this thing's the shits.
Yeah. And he's just,
and you're just like, what the?
Like, he looks like that dude. You know when you went to high school and there was that dude that he got with all the girls and he was kind of bigger than you, but he had this smug, arrogant face that you're just like, I'd like to backhand that guy. I don't like him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's
MJF.
Him. That's him.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got like this awful facial hair that I can't. I'm like, what is this? Yep. And I don't understand. Yep. And by the way, something that really pisses me off, he has like perfect skin and it pisses me off. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. My skin's problematic and it pisses me off. And they just look at him and I'm like, what do you have perfect skin? Do I need to be an asshole to have perfect skin? Because I will, oh my God. But it's I don't know if he's just an absolute CUNT of a person or if he's just really good at his character.
Really good at what he does.
Yeah. But so you're going MJF?
I am. I think MJF Jericho, does it, and I think it just adds to the arsenal of him being the asshole even worse,
Amazing predictions are going. They're going well. We're an hour and 12 minutes into this thing. We've still got stuff to talk about, so that's how they're going. All right, let's move on. You know what? Let's do the women's championship match. We have Dr. Britt Baker DMD taking on Miss Chris Statlander. I guess more of the same of what I was talking about in the Casino Battle Royal earlier. Britt, everybody else. And why Britt is, let's talk about Britt Baker for a minute. Best thing that ever happened to her was getting injured, wasn't it? Best thing.
Yes.
Couldn't have been anything better. She worked on her speaking. She worked on her promos. She worked on her, all of that. I was watching a couple of days ago, rewatching the Oral Sessions, Renee Paquette's show, with Britt Baker. It was just after her match with Thunder Rosa. And Renee was asking her about, basically, by the way, tomorrow, everybody, Legacy of Renee Paquette is coming out. It's going to be very good. Trust me. Everyone knows how much I love Renee, so and how much of just what I think of her. So it's a lot of fun. Also, speaking of legacy of, October 8th at 6 p.m. Eastern time, it's going to premiere on YouTube. It's the legacy of ECW. It is the biggest, most polished creation I've ever done in any kind of content ever. I've been working on it for a long time. It's going to be long. It's very documentary style. And I believe I have something really, really cool. So if you go to my pinned tweet on Twitter, if you go through the thread of things, you will probably see a lot of the promos that I've been doing for it. But Legacy of ECW, I'll have some more stuff on that in the coming weeks, on how you can maybe see little sneak peeks and little different things. But been working really hard on that, and just everything that I'm doing legacy of. But anyway, enough about me. I mean, it's my Twitch. I can put myself over. It's literally my Twitch, so I can do what I want. But yes, that's gonna be fun. But Dr. Britt Baker, what I was going to say is, Renee was asking her about the fact that, hey, you know what, getting injured is what it is. But what did you make of it? She goes, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I learnt the art of professional wrestling that isn't in the ring. Because Britt's only been doing this for 6 years, 7 years. That's not a very long time. And television-wise, she's only been on TV for 2 years, like since AEW went to television. So she is literally a product of AEW, a product of AEW TV. She said that she learnt how cameras operate and what lights mean to where to look and how production people piece together vignettes. And she was saying, I learnt the behind the stuff of wrestling that almost is more important or as important as the actual in-ring product. Britt has in-ring ability. She's getting better every time she gets in the ring, which is great because, again, still very fresh in the business, but it's just taken and just ran with this. But her promos, I mean, there's a reason I think every week on Dynamite she has a microphone, is because she's so good. She is just really, 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 really good on the mic. No worries, Rachel. Thank you for hanging out. 2 a.m. Yeah, you need to go to bed. Go get some sleep. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for hopping.
But yeah, Britt is just really, really good. Now, Chris Statlander, I like Chris. I don't think she's in the spot of Britt yet. I think she's well away.
I would agree. I do think since she's come back from her injury, for a few months now, her matches have been like, she was always pretty good in the ring. She's super powerful, but she's fast and agile.
Yeah, definitely.
And she's big. She's a big woman.
Yeah.
I do think the character, I prefer this character with the best friends because they do still harp on the alien, but it's not so far out there.
It comes across as a little
in the ring every 5 minutes.
It kind of got a little bit corny for me. I think that's what put me off of her. Is like it was coming across as really cheesy. It wasn't coming across as like fun. I was like, this just is weird. Like, what's going on here?
So I think the matchup with her coming back and kind of joining the best friends crew, I think was kind of a perfect match because those guys are fun, and I think she fits right into that really well. So I've definitely grown to like her a lot more this time around as before the injury, but I agree with you. I don't think she's been presented to even be close to the stratosphere that Britt Baker is on. Nobody has. I think the closest person has been Thunder Rosa.
Yeah.
And they've even cooled her off lately. Like, we haven't seen her a ton lately.
Yeah.
So I mean,
we can both be in agreement that Britt's going to win this regardless, whether it's with help of Jamie Hayter and Reba Rebel, whatever you want to call it.
I do think though that this is going to be the jumpstart of the Britt Baker title reign. Like, I think so far she's won. She's been great, but it's been a little underwhelming. She hasn't had, she fought Nyla. It was okay. Like, it's been a tad underwhelming. Not her, but just the title reign.
It's again, you're speaking exactly what I'm saying before. It's not the women, it's the way they're presented.
Yeah. And I think this match is going to be a very good match.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be the jumpstart, especially if we do see Ruby Soho and someone of that caliber earlier in the night. And if Ruby does win, and that's the next challenge, I think this is the start of Britt Baker's like epic title reign that we all were waiting for when she won it, and I have a feeling this is going to be the match that kind of kickstarts it.
Maybe Britt needs some inspiration in her life. Maybe
there's some rumors. You never know.
If there's people that can hold a microphone and go one-on-one with Britt, I believe it would be the Inspiration, formerly known as the Iconics.
I would agree.
They have character, which is a good thing, and they have the WWE rub, whether people want to say that's a bad thing or a good thing. They have television experience that you, again, cannot teach. You have to be on TV to learn how to be on TV. And they have it.
Correct.
And 2 women, by the way, who got the opportunity to cut a promo before every match. Not many women get that opportunity. Not many people in WWE get the opportunity to hold a microphone. You're very lucky to get a microphone in WWE. We know that. So who knows? But I think Britt will win. And like you said, we need to catapult this Britt title reign because I think it's going to be long and I think it's going to be a very good title reign, but we need to put some oomph on it because it's
you got to strap the rockets to it and you got to go straight up.
Yeah.
But
I think this will be fun.
Hopefully that this is the start. I think so too. I think
it'll be really fun. Speaking of something that's going to be really, really fun, the AEW World Championship, Kenny Omega will be defending against the Impact World Champion, Christian Cage. They had a match on the first episode. It was the first match of the first episode of Dynamite.
It was excellent.
Great match. And man, oh man, did Kenny Omega sell the shit out of that. I call it Unprettier. I know it's called a kill switch, but it's the Unprettier. I know it's not called that anymore, but that's what it is. It's the Unprettier. So that's what I'm calling it. But it's just a much better name for a move than a kill switch, in my opinion, but whatever. He hit the Unprettier. He sold the crap out of it on that chair. And Christian Cage in 2021 is the Impact, or let's just not call it Impact, the TNA World Champion, because it's TNA. It's not Impact. Just big TNA. I was a TNA mark, by the way, big time.
Yeah,
from the years
I wasn't a regular viewer, but I know people adored it.
End of 2007, right up until about 2014, every week. I found we couldn't watch it in Australia too. It would air 3 weeks late on a Saturday night at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, midnight. It was on at this ass hour. So I'd watch it illegally on the internet and I would find it and I would watch it every single fucking week. Trust me. I loved TNA. Christian, in those years, the guy. He was the man for some of those years. So Christian Cage is the TNA World Champion in 2021. Did you have that on your bingo card? I didn't, personally.
Certainly did not.
I
certainly did not.
Imagine
But when it happened, though, in that moment, I was like, oh, this is wonderful. This makes so much sense. It made sense. It was, I thought it was it was awesome. I thought
Christian's
it was a great moment. I was like, oh, he's so good. I'm glad he's getting treated with the respect that he deserves.
He's got a perfect spot in AEW because in WWE, he was never going to be. Unfortunately, he's just Edge's friend.
He was going to be the guy that was going to get curb stomped in this feud leading up to the Edge match at SummerSlam. That's literally who he was going to be.
And that's not a knock on Edge, by the way. Edge is fantastic. We're not saying one's better than the other. They're both as good as each other, in my opinion. But Edge has always been positioned as the guy, the star. And Christian is just... That's how he was in WWE. He would have a spot, but it would just be the spot that he's in. AEW, he has potential, obviously. He's going in a title match to be the guy. Now, they had that match on Rampage. Great match, like you said. I guess it kind of just... I don't want to say it completely spoils the fact that Kenny Omega is going to win, but I think Kenny Omega is going to win just because of other reasons, not just the fact that Christian beat him once. I just think Kenny Omega is positioned to just keep going and going and going until one man stops him. So I'll say Kenny Omega just to keep it moving. But man, oh man, do I expect a absolute slapper of a match that these two are going to have, because they will. They just will.
Yeah, I expect this to be a sleeper into the I expect this to be one of the better matches of the evening, because it's going to be good. The first one was great. This one's going to be good too. I agree with you. It is 100% going to be Kenny Omega. There's one guy that's taken that title off him, and it's Hangman Page.
That's right.
That's who it is.
That's
and
right.
It's not going to be anybody else.
No
However
offense,
long
Christian.
it takes.
Sorry, Christian.
Yeah, no offense. Yeah. No matter how long it takes, whether it's the next pay-per-view or we're waiting until next year, Hangman's the guy.
Yep.
Hangman is the guy that's beating him.
Yep.
And we'll get there when we get there. But yeah, Christian, I think they're going to make you believe Christian's going to beat him again, probably a few times during this match.
Oh, yeah.
Where everyone's going to be like, oh my God, he's going to do it again. And then he's not. I would expect the Elite maybe to get involved, and maybe Omega wins very heelish like he has been doing.
He does, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I'm expecting too. I actually think, and I was wondering what match you would talk about last, because I do think the Punk match will main event this show. I think it has to.
Yeah.
I think anything that follows that is an extreme disservice.
Not because it will be the best match of the show, just because I don't think we need to explain why.
Yeah, no, it has to. I could actually see this match potentially opening.
That's what I was just literally about to say. This might open.
Yeah.
Just because
it could.
It's a main event, but like you don't want to. This card placement is going to have to be very like this, because this crowd, I should say, has an opportunity to get very burnt out very fast.
Yeah, and I think like you said, the card placement is going to be essential, because when you look at these 10 matches or 9 on the main show, there's not really any breather matches. We've been talking about them. There's really only one in the Paul White QT Marshall match. I feel like that's the only match where, unfortunately, the majority of the crowd's probably not just going to care that much.
Yeah,
but
it's Chicago, so Chicago are hot. But I think a lot of people like us, we're not gonna sit here and try to explain it any other way. Yes, this card's gonna be great, but we're here for Punk. It's hard not to be, just because it's the first time he's wrestling in 7 years of a man that we really did think that would never wrestle again, just with his exit. And 7 years ago, there was nowhere else to wrestle on a big stage but WWE. Correct. So you didn't really have the option. It was like, if he doesn't wrestle in WWE, he's never wrestling again. Because Punk, listen, he says it's not about money, and I understand that. He wants to be happy. But also, he knows his value, I'm sure, and it's like, I need to be paid in a way that's going to make me come out of retirement, or whatever you want to call it, at 40 whatever years old. It's like he's going to come out of it for $5 and a hot dog. He's going to come out of it looking good. You know what I mean? Like he's...
Oh, yeah.
And I understand happiness and all of that kind of stuff. But there was no other place when he left WWE. So we didn't know what was going to happen. So I think it'd be lying if we said we're not the most hyped for Punk, because it would just be lying. I think anyone would be, to be completely honest. But that's not to discredit anything else that's on this card, because they've built a very strong card. But Christian and Kenny, like you said, probably will go on first, or it could at least go on first. But it's Kenny Omega here. It is what it is. Kenny is crushing it at the moment. He just is. And so is Christian, to be completely honest. Christian has not taken a loss in AEW.
He has not.
Yeah.
He has not.
So
I think this is probably the first one. Yeah. And I do think it will take some outside interference by the gang to do so. But it's Kenny Omega.
It's Kenny Omega all the way, isn't
it?
All day Kenny Omega. All right, well, we're at the main event now. Here, this is going to be. We've alluded to it so many times in this show and everything like that. But by the way, JPJ is frozen. I can still hear you. What? I think I can hear you, but you're just completely frozen. I don't know why.
Am I?
Yeah, but I can still hear you. So we're in the last match. I'm not gonna.
Wow, that's sad.
I'll just see if I can maybe stop your video on your Zoom and then start it again. You got your little stop video and then start it again.
Hello. Oh,
there you go. Look, now you're moving around.
Am I moving? You see me moving?
Yeah, I see you moving.
All right, we're back.
I can still hear you, but you just technology. Listen, we're on two opposite sides of the world, everybody. So it is what it is.
That is true.
But anyway, we've alluded to it many times. CM Punk will be taking on Darby Allin. Main event, more than likely. I couldn't see why it wouldn't be. First time in 7 years. No Sting at ringside. No nothing. It is simply Punk and Darby one-on-one. Oh man.
Yeah.
let's break this down a little bit because there's a lot to discuss. So CM Punk had his last television wrestling match, his last wrestling match at Royal Rumble 2014, and then was officially fired from WWE in the June of 2014 on his wedding day. And Punk was just sour towards wrestling, rightfully so.
Yep.
A lot of stuff happened, a lot of lawsuits happened. He was asked many times, would you ever consider coming back to wrestling? The answer was just flat out, absolutely not. I'm not coming back to wrestling. This isn't a thing I'm going to do. He had some time in UFC. That went how it went.
Yep.
Good on him for trying, but is what it was. What it was. Did some stuff in film and television. He's in that show Heels.
Heels. Yep.
He has done other things. Married the woman of his dreams, and has just been living his life. And then all of a sudden, in 2019, CM Punk would return to wrestling in a sense on WWE Backstage with Renee Paquette. And the WWE Backstage show he was on like once a month. That show was unfortunately a victim of COVID, and it kind of took that away. Punk was no longer on the show. I think WWE Backstage and the Fox deal has a huge credit in getting Punk back to wrestling because he had to pay attention to the product. He had to be able to speak about it. And I'm not Punk. I'm not a wrestler. But if I can relate it to anything else, when you step away from something you did for all of your life and hate it and then try to get back into it, you've got to go, oh, man, I want this. There's got to be something a part of you. Even if you hate WWE, like in his case, he was not. But he even did say he was open. You know what I mean? Like his lawsuits were over. He said, I'm open to have a conversation. And I don't know, who knows if these conversations took place. But I think there was a lot of stuff going into that surrounding that I just don't think either side could get past, in my opinion. That's how I deciphered the situation. I don't know shit from Clay, but that's just how I take it as a fan. But he would eventually come back, 2-3 weeks ago now on Rampage, to one of the most just surreal moments I've ever watched in wrestling. And it's just, I mean, I watched it my boss let me come home for my lunch break to watch Rampage. And he was like, I know CM Punk is potentially coming back because he knows wrestling. And he was like, hey, do you want to go home for your lunch break and watch this? I'm like, yeah, I do. So I ran over to my sister's house who lives across the road. I have it on an iPad, Rampage. And we just all gathered around this tiny little iPad and was like, is this really going to happen? And then it happened. And just emotional happiness, just every feeling just raced over me. I've never felt that as a fan, like exactly like that. There's moments you can compare it to, but there's nothing like it. There was nothing ever that just felt like nothing mattered. I could give a shit what he said. Like I can't even remember that promo because I was just like, what? This is real. Because there was 99% of me that's like, Punk's coming back on this Rampage, but there was that little bit of like 1% of me going, what if he doesn't? Yeah, what about if he doesn't? Because if he didn't come back then, it was never for me. I was like, if he really this much a rumor that he's coming back, if it didn't happen and Cult of Personality didn't hit the start of that Rampage, I would have been like, it's really not happening. Like the ship has sailed on CM Punk. But just, you were saying to me, you were either saying it before we went live or as we went live, you were in a hotel room in Vegas because you were in Vegas for SummerSlam weekend with Spencer and with Joel. To watch that in a hotel room, like you could have been out on the strip. You could have been out, fucking gambling all your money, but you chose to sit in a hotel room while you were 100%. Away. And that's how any other moment you could be like, I'll watch it on the replay. I'll see it on Twitter.
Yeah.
You had to watch this moment live. There was no other way to do this. It's truly just like I just can't wrap my head around the fact that it happened.
Yeah. And I think you just summed it up perfectly, actually. You were like, we had just gotten to Las Vegas. It was our first day in Las Vegas. It was my first time ever in Las Vegas. And I'm like, ooh, I'm here for SummerSlam weekend. I'm meeting Spencer for the first time. I got all these other wrestling people I admire around me. and it was Friday night because it was 7:00 Vegas time.
Yeah.
So we had to find in a league because it wasn't airing until 10 in Vegas, but it would have
Right.
already happened. And we were like, no way in hell. Like, we are watching it live. We're figuring it out. And we did. But a Friday night in Las Vegas, our first night there, we're like, okay, well, we can't go out until 8. We can't go out until 8 because at 7:00, we need to watch this because this is the biggest thing that's happened in a long, like, this is important. And like you said, we sat there and we were silent. We were just encapsulated by him walking out and that the CM Punk chant and then the roar of that crowd
man.
when he walked out and everyone finally saw him. And it was like, oh, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. Like, it was just like, oh my God, like he is actually here. Like, he's actually here.
His music hit, and I was like, wait, because I looked at my sister and I was like, this might be a troll. Like, someone else might walk out.
I thought it was going to be MJF.
So did I. I was like, Shaylee, no.
Like
I was like, she's like looking at me. We looked at, we had this moment. Listen, sibling relationship. Do you have siblings?
Yeah.
You know how they are.
I have a younger sister.
I have an older brother, younger sister. Well, and I have a much younger half brother. But I looked at my sister. You know how siblings are. Like, you don't share those. You're just like, fuck you. I hate you. You know what I mean? You're just like, I fucking hate you. But I looked at her and we just had this, like, my sister's fiance was also there. But we just looked at each other and went, like, this is like, we had this like weird telepathy thing. It's like, oh my God. Like, we just had this, we could read each other's thoughts. It was weird. And it was like, his music hit and then he walked out. And I was like my jaw was just, I'm gift to gab over here, as everyone knows. I can talk your ear off, talk underwater, but I had no words. I was just like,
no,
what is happening? Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then,
it was,
so take into the account of this actual match. In a fantasy booking world, you go, well, you just put him up against the biggest heel you got. Because it's no one's going to get cheered over CM Punk. But you are taking, arguably, the most homegrown, organic, super mega rising star you have, and arguably their most over talent in AEW. You're putting him up against CM Punk. Listen, that's a risky move. And we don't know what that's going to be like crowd-wise when we actually see them go mano-y-mano tomorrow at All Out. But it's just so opposite of what you would think, but it works so well. Like, it's just like, it's ultimate. Darby Allin is about to have the first match of CM Punk in 7 years, a match you thought you would never, ever, 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 ever see CM Punk on the bill of a card. You would never think that. And to have him up against Darby, who, by the way, has been rubbing elbows with Sting, arguably the biggest star in TNT history in wrestling. I mean, that is insane. And to see the fact that we had a stare down between CM Punk and Sting. What the fuck is going on in wrestling? Seriously, it's just that. What the hell? Like, when you say
unreal.
that
Can you
sentence,
imagine?
It's crazy.
Sorry, I don't want to.
No, go for it. Go for it.
Can you imagine? I think Darby Allin's like, he's somewhere in his late 20s, near 30, somewhere around there. Can you imagine what he must be thinking? Like, growing up as a wrestling fan and just being that, like, he's like, I am wrestling on national television for this company that's growing and is becoming, I think, a formidable force in wrestling, if they're not already.
Darby's 28 years old.
28 years old. Okay. So he's 28. He is on screen every week with Sting. First of all, with Sting. And Sting is somebody that Darby Allin grew up watching 100% and was like, yo, Sting is awesome.
Sting was wrestling before Darby was born.
Yes. And he does that. And then imagine you're him and Tony Khan comes up to you and goes, hey, by the way, we signed CM Punk and his first match is going to be against you.
And not only that, like, CM Punk, I'm pretty certain CM Punk would have some pull in who he wants to wrestle first.
Yes.
And to pick Darby 100%. When he has, listen, he could have, I'm pretty certain Tony Khan would have went, here.
Pick who you want.
Pick who you want. You can have anybody. If you want to wrestle Britt Baker, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen if you want to wrestle Britt. You know what I mean? Like, he could literally have Kenny Omega. He could have the Young Bucks. He could have anybody he want, and not just this isn't discrediting Darby, but like he chose Darby. That was Punk's. What I'm assuming is Punk's pick. That's insane. That what? How would you not have? I would have an ego through the fucking roof. I'd be walking around with my chest out, going, "I got CM Punk." Doesn't matter what you've got. It just you're putting up your biggest baby face in the company versus a person who is now your biggest baby face in the company in CM Punk. It is a clash of just that crowd is going to be. I don't know.
That building's gonna be shaking.
AEW crowds are very. They feel like the only way I can describe them. They feel like those, like from like NXT Takeover Brooklyn days. Those kind of crowds that are just hanging on everything and they just want to see wrestling. That's how I describe those crowds. Kind of.
That's a good one too. I hearken it, and I know you have a legacy of coming up. I hearken it to the ECW crowds of like the original.
It does
ECW,
feel like that,
passionate. They, like you said, they're in everything. They care about everything. They're there to have a good time. And luckily the show allows them to have a good time, and it's like, I think of old, like 97, 98, 99, but pre-WWE involvement, ECW.
Yes.
But I think your comp of the NXT takeover, like those early crowds of, I remember the takeover, the early Brooklyn ones, the takeover London one, like those like crazy crowds.
And they just hang on everything, and they're not there to shit on
everything
anything.
That happens.
They're just there to just, we're here for you, you know what I mean? Like, and that crowd is going to be, I mean, if I can say anything pretty certainly about Chicago is they love CM Punk. That's their man.
Oh yeah, he's a hero. He is
their guy. And not to say that Darby's going to get booed by any stretch of the word, because he's not. But it's going to be interesting to see maybe a little back and forth with the crowd. I mean, I think it'll be more like 70-30 than 50-50. But it's hard to boo Darby. It's really hard to boo. But I mean, it's Chicago and Punk. Who knows? It's so unpredictable because it's Chicago, it's Punk, it's Darby, it's all of the elements that are surrounding this show, which we're going to talk about to end this in a minute. But I mean, it's 7 years. I think Punk has to win this one. I can't really see a formula in my brain that goes Darby, but I don't know. Again, I don't know. It's so hard to just predict. But I think Punk has to win this one, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think Punk has to win. I bet you behind the scenes, if Tony Khan went to Punk and said, "Hey, what do you think about Darby going over?" I don't think Punk would have a problem with that whatsoever.
I don't think so.
But I think it's in Chicago. It's 7 years. Yeah, Punk not has to, but Punk's going to win. And I think the way that they do it is, and Darby kind of already is this way. We've seen him do it in the match with Cody and his match with Moxley. He's a daredevil. He he wrestles very recklessly, but like it fits his character, and he never dies. He's been thrown downstairs. He's been thrown out the ring in a body bag. Like he always comes back. He always comes back. And I think if they have a match where it literally takes Punk everything he has to beat Darby Allin, and after the match, they'll do their handshake or their sign of respect, and Punk will put him over, I think. I think that's how I think the show's going to end it a little bit differently, but I think that's towards the end of the show, after the match for sure.
Darby's going to look like a star in the
no matter what. And I don't think Darby is maybe. I think Darby is a little bit bulletproof. I think he's so over. And in this scenario, I don't think there's a way you lose. I don't think there's a way.
You're wrestling CM Punk. There's a lot of eyes on you regardless.
Correct. And if he loses, he loses, but he's going to look like a stud going down. And he's going to come out the next week and he's going to be as over, if not a little bit more over than he already is.
Legit.
Even though he loses, because he fought CM Punk and he took him to the end. And
what an insane
time.
It is. Literally. I can't believe I'm doing a show going into, I've been doing this for over 3 years and I've never done any kind of show talking about CM Punk at this length because he wasn't active. He wasn't a thing in wrestling. So just insane.
I don't know how you want to dive into it, but I think
Oh, go for it. You know what I want to talk about at the end, so
Yeah.
we just had that look then. It was just like, we're going to talk about the people that surrounding us.
I think there's a couple ways that this goes. I think Punk wins. They have the sign of respect. And I think Bryan Danielson shows up. And I think he comes out and him and Punk have a face-to-face, maybe a handshake in the ring. And that's how it goes off the air with Punk and Bryan kind of staring at each other. And you're just like, holy shit. This is
Bryan Danielson. It
is Bryan Danielson and CM Punk in a non-WWE, non-Ring of Honor ring. Like, holy shit. This is incredible. That's what I think happens. I've heard some rumblings that after the match, maybe Daniel Garcia and 2.0 attack and Sting gets involved and it kind of goes that way because there's rumors that I guess at the New York show it might be a big 6-man tag for that show is Sting, Punk, and Darby against those three, which is I'm all on board with that, but I don't think that's as much as I love Garcia and 2.0. I don't know if they're big enough for that moment. You know what I mean? I just don't think they're there yet.
Probably not.
It's got to be Bryan Daniel. It's got to be Bryan.
It also could be Adam Cole, and I think we got to.
It could too, yes.
Like Adam Cole is also lurking around the rumor mill as someone. There's a lot of talent, like a lot that are available, and that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's quite on the level of Bryan. Maybe Cole could probably get in that spot. The problem is that, listen, Bryan comes in, he's an instant face. I think.
Maybe.
You could easily, I mean, it's Punk though. It's Chicago. It's Punk. If there's any way to bring in Bryan as a heel,
in Ring of Honor and in the Indies, I think Bryan was always kind of a heel. I think he was more heel than babyface.
Even on WWE programming, he was a heel.
And I was going to say his heel runs, both of them. The early heel run with AJ Lee, and then when he was kind of the eco-friendly, the world, I love the earth, eco-friendly.
What a gimmick, by the way. You literally are just like, I love the planet.
He had the hemp title.
Oh my! It was like, I love the planet, so we hate you. Like, what a concept.
And everyone was like, "F you, man."
Yeah, we fuck you. Like, we're gonna use plastic cups. Yeah. It's like the weirdest angle. But anyway, if you have anyone that you could get heat. Oh, but I don't know because it's Bryan. And then if Adam Cole come in and did exactly that same thing, could you? It would just be bananas. What about if all three of them just end in a stare? You have Adam Cole come out.
To talk about this. And we have insane. These things that could possibly happen. Just is so exciting to me.
Like I know a lot of people get on about WWE releases or people leaving and whatever, but it also creates such an exciting time for other places. So. I don't get so harped on releases. I don't want anyone to be without a job, and I want people to make as much money as they can. When people sign with WWE, people are like, "Oh, here we go." I don't give a fuck. If Adam Cole chooses to re-sign with WWE, power to him. Cash those checks. I don't believe in sellout or anything. Who cares? Make your money. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's whatever. But as a fan, I mean. I've never been more excited for people to. There's just this unpredictable time because none of it could happen. We don't know. We could be just working ourselves into a massive fucking head fuck here and just being like, nope, this isn't happening. Bryan's not coming out. Adam Cole's not coming out. Braun Strowman's not coming out. No one's coming out. Or we could get literally everybody. Like, imagine the moment you talked about Bryan coming out and they have this stare down and handshake. Imagine if Cole come out and then Bryan come out and there's like a 3-way stare down and it's like the place would just be going. Could you imagine a triple threat between those three, by the way? Chuck in Kenny and have a 4-way.
Yeah, why not?
Holy moly.
The options are
endless.
I don't know if I can say endless.
Endless.
And it's like, when was the last time you can remember having these type of discussions when you're talking about wrestling or like it's been a while
because
it's been a long time.
The only place that anyone really wants to see anyone go see anyone go is WWE because it was the only and they're nothing. It was
the only job in town for a while.
Like, the Impact, and no disrespect to them, but they're not WWE. They're not on the AEW can rival WWE's production. They can rival WWE's. Hates to say this because it shouldn't be about this, but they can rival WWE's money. Tony Khan and his family are
They're
very
richer than
rich.
Vince.
They're literally
They're
richer
richer
than
Vince.
They're richer than the McMahons, and Vince has a
Yes.
lot of money. And there's a lot of rumors going around that WWE may be up for sale. And well, Nick Khan said we're open to offers. You know what I mean? Like he's not saying we're actively we're not saying we're actively like got the for sale sign in the front of the headquarters, but like, you know, if Disney were to come along and say, hey, we'll give you $1 billion or $1.2 billion for this fucking whatever, I'm pretty sure they'll listen. They'll be like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, no worries. We'll take that money. We'll cash that check. So it is interesting to imagine if in a world where we lived in, if WWE was owned by a place like Disney
Amazon,
or Amazon,
Disney,
or
Amazon,
NBC
like
Universal or something like that. Imagine that. It would feel like, well, it would be hard not to compare it to the end of WCW, wouldn't it? As in the sense of like when WCW,
I think it would be very, very.
Well, they were always owned, weren't they? They were always owned by like Time Warner or something like that.
Yeah, Time Warner. Yeah.
But then everything happened like it did. But this is what a crazy time. Again, we're talking about the company that we've all grown up watching in WWE now not being the only place to go, because I didn't start watching wrestling until basically the end of WCW is when I tuned in regularly. I was old enough. So I really haven't lived in a time where there hasn't just been WWE and then the rest. We're at this time now where it's like there's another place to go. There's multiple. Wrestling is thriving as an industry. Like it's never been more exciting. At least in the time. I wasn't around in the Attitude Era, so I don't know exactly what that's like in the sense of like living through it. But is it comparable? When you started watching wrestling, obviously before me, but
yeah, I started watching probably like in the mid '90s when like Bret Hart.
So you were seeing like the rise of wrestling in a sense.
Oh yeah. I would say as far as like wrestlers showing up different places and things like that, this is the closest it's been. Does it
have a similar feeling in a sense, or was it just more of like the Wild Wild West in the Attitude Era where it's just like a little bit less about, well, it was less about wrestling and it was more about like, let's talk about dick jokes and stuff like that, I guess, in a sense. But
the Attitude Era, it was very much the Wild Wild West. If you watch a lot of it back, most of it does not age well.
Oh no, I've watched old Raws and I'm like
at all. It's like, how the hell did they get away with that?
Yikes. And the wrestling was
a lot of yikes.
Like you had your main events that were like big, and you had matches that were great, but you watch an episode of Raw, it's like
I think that's the thing that people don't talk about enough when they talk about the Attitude Era. Because look, the Attitude Era was when wrestling was booming at its highest ratings. It was making the most money. Like I get it, why that's viewed the way it's viewed. Stone Cold, like I get it.
Yeah,
the product, besides the moments that happened and their good matches, because there were plenty. The in-ring wrestling as a whole was not that good. No. It was not that good. Now you can put on a wrestling show and you're seeing good match after good match after, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, there are clunkers every so often and stuff, but like the actual wrestling is at the top of its game now too. And I feel like with AEW, this is the first time for me that there's been this much excitement about something. I feel like everyone, and it took some people longer, like you said, like it took you a little while, but now you've slowly been like, okay, I kind of dig this.
I'm all in. I'm all in.
Yeah, so you're all in. Yeah. Like, and I think that's the thing that excites me in general about tomorrow is they've won some people over, and there are going to be more eyes on that pay-per-view tomorrow that CM Punk is there than ever. And I know Tony Khan, because he said it, he knows that there are lapsed fans that are buying that tomorrow to watch it for CM Punk. He knows that he needs to he knows he needs to put on a show that wins those people over, that makes them watch on Wednesday. In
a sense, I'm kind of in that category of a lapsed fan for a little while, because we've had conversations in DMs and stuff where it's just been like, I've been like telling you like, I just haven't felt for wrestling. I'm just kind of watching it because that's what I do. It's just watching to watch, you know what I mean? Like it's just like this constant cycle of just like, okay, I'm not excited for anything. I'm just watching because I love wrestling. And I've just been waiting and patiently waiting for something cool to happen. And I did not think it come out of the blue, and I did not think that SummerSlam would make me feel the way it did. I'm just feeling like I just truly felt no feeling. Didn't care about anything that was happening. I was like, eh. and NXT changed, and I think it was almost like kind of pushing me to be like, Josh, just seek this out. Like, give it a chance. Because I feel like I haven't watched Dynamite in my life before. I haven't watched I've watched every single pay-per-view, and I've watched Dynamites in the past. I've never watched them consistently because I was just like, something's not grabbing me here. And of all people, I didn't think it would be CM Punk. I really honestly didn't, because I was never his number one guy, like his number one fan. I liked Punk, but I was never like, he was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Even in the time where he was hot, like I was like, yeah, cool. Like it's cool stuff, but I'm not like his biggest supporter.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it would happen the way it did. And there's no way you can fight the feelings that you have towards a moment in wrestling or anything. You can't help the way you feel about it. And I was just like, why is this I'm gravitating to, and I'm like, there's this truly sense of AEW that it's can't miss television, because if you miss it one week, you might miss something cool. So I feel like I have to watch it every week. It's one of those shows where if I'm working, I don't go on Twitter, because I'm like, I don't want to see I want to watch it. You know what I mean? Like with WWE shows, you're like, I'll just read it on Twitter. You know, nothing's going to really happen.
Yeah, exactly.
And here it doesn't feel like that. So I guess All Out has that feeling. And again, this sense of like anyone can win, anyone can show up, like truly anyone can show up, and just having fun with wrestling again. It just feels fun. It feels, and I don't feel this sense of like, it doesn't, like I'm not embarrassed to watch it. You know what I mean? Like I have friends that don't watch, I have friends that don't watch wrestling that have watched sometimes, and I hate that I have to say this out loud. There was a friend that was with me, and he doesn't watch wrestling. And I was like, I'm going to watch Raw, and he's like, whatever.
Oh boy. What segment was it?
Guess what little doll winked in that segment? Yeah, Lily. And he looked at me, he was like, and I was like, how can I explain that?
It's not all like this, I swear. I
was like, how can I explain this? How can I explain this to someone? I just don't feel like that feeling. It would be hard to deny the feeling that wrestling gives you when you watch this program, because it's just, you kind of just feed off that energy. I feel like someone who doesn't watch it go, I don't like this, but I understand why you do. A winking doll, that truly is the difference right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that, it is. And it's just,
it's sad.
Again, like I don't, as a wrestling fan, I don't need to be constantly rewarded or anything like that. But like,
don't insult me.
It makes you feel good that you watch a show that makes sense. First of all, it makes sense.
Has
the things that happen on the television screen.
Continuity.
Has continuity. Oh. You can watch, Hangman Page, before he went away because his significant other had a child. He went almost over a year without laying a finger or even being in the same ring with Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
But everyone knew that eventually Hangman was going to be the guy, is going to be that guy. So when it happened and they flirted with it a couple months ago, it was a big deal. They don't do that in WWE. There's nothing like that. It's all right, well, this person's going to fight this person for the 9th Raw in a row. And it's like, okay.
The only thing that I hate that, like, AEW seems to have a lot of great things when WWE still has some great things. Like Roman is really the exception to the rule, I guess, is Roman and stuff like that. But you shouldn't have 95% of your show be bad and the 5% be great. It should be 95% of your show is great, and then your 5% that just doesn't fit. That's how no wrestling show is perfect. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Dynamite's perfect, because I don't think it is.
It's not. No.
There's changes.
I agree.
But they don't insult you. There's continuity. There's a flow. And you're not getting the same thing every week, which is really, really refreshing, especially with someone who's watched WWE for 21 years. Like, that's all I've watched all my life. So,
and like,
it's cool.
Yeah. And lastly on that, like, a lot of the matches in WWE are constructed the same. Every tag match. Like, I can watch a tag match and I know when the hot tag's coming. Like I would be watching wrestling with someone who doesn't watch wrestling, and I could watch it and be like, oh, here's what's going to happen.
It's a formula.
When the guy gets thrown. Yeah. When your guy gets thrown out of the ring, I could be like, commercial break. And then it's going to a commercial break. And then when they come back, oh yeah, he's going to do this and distract. There's a formula to
how
it.
I watch
Whereas
it too.
AEW, like you said, feels very free flowing. Like, like you said, anything can happen. There's all different wrestling styles. It's not all the same. And it's refreshing. It's refreshing.
Really, really is. It just really is refreshing. But we're gonna wrap this up here on this chat for AEW and all things. You'll be seeing a lot more of us together in a sense soon. I haven't. Just stay posted to my Twitter. We're gonna be doing more stuff because obviously me and JPJ have a natural just ability to talk to one another, so we'll be doing some stuff soon.
Yes.
Oh, Conrad just got in here. What's up? We're wrapping things up here, Conrad, but thanks for saying hello. But yeah, we're going to be doing some more stuff in the not just in the wrestling stuff because I get a bit sick of talking about wrestling sometimes, as we all do. We talk a lot about wrestling, but we'll be doing some stuff soon. So just stay posted to my Twitter of what's going to go on there. But thanks for hanging out. It's been a lot of fun to chat.
Thanks for having me. I was very excited when you asked. I was like, ooh.
Oh, of course. I love having people on and different people to talk different things. And again, my first AEW prediction show. Oh, and Queen's here now as we're wrapping up. What the fuck, Queen? What the hell? Everyone's coming in here as we're wrapping up. You just missed me.
No.
You just Queen's gonna hate this because she knows she's been trying to get me on the AEW bandwagon from the moment it's
good on her.
Queen, I've been just singing the praises of AEW for the last 2 hours. So now to really balance it out because you're here, Queen. Fuck AEW. Fuck them all. Fucking sucks.
Yeah, you missed it. He has been glowing about AEW basically this whole show.
I really have been. I really have been. Yeah. So it's been fun to chat today, but we're gonna wrap things up. I will be back. When am I streaming again? I don't know. Maybe tonight, actually. I might stream right straight after work, depending on how tired I am. Maybe I'll play some Red Dead or something. I don't know. I don't know. But if not, I'll be back out later in the week with some more Hurricane Season mode on SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. We got some other stuff happening. I've got some cool stuff in the works for my Twitch. And yeah, I've got 2 more weeks of work, everyone, and then I can stream every fucking day if I want to, because I won't be at work for 4 weeks. So get ready to see a lot of me.
I'm jealous.
Oh, everyone should be, honestly. I'm going to live it up. I'm going to eat a lot of junk food. That's my plan. The whole month, I'm just going to get fat.
Good for you. That sounds like it's going to be a swell month.
It's going to be so fun. I'm so excited. So yeah, guys, thanks for all the love today. Thanks for all the subs, all the follows, all of that kind of good stuff. And I'll see you guys very soon. Love to you all. Bye.